Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear student. My name is Dr. Muhammad Adnan Asgar, and today the lecture is about the application of thermal analysis in the study of metallic materials under the subject of thermal analysis. So, first of all, we need to look at the introduction of this topic. If we talk about the first commercial thermogravimetric equipment, it was appeared in 1945 and was subsequently followed by the DTA in 1960 and DSA in 1964. The first was a Journal of Thermal Analysis, which appeared for the nice representations and the publications from thermogravimetric analysis in 1969, and moreover the Thermochemica Acta came out for the following year. So it will increase the different properties and different possible applications of thermogravimetric analysis, and it also appeals for the importance of the thermogravimetric analysis. In the 17th, when thermal analysis method started to be generally applied, major advancement in scientific research related to metallic materials behavior had already occurred. This was especially true in the case of alloys with greater industrial demand, for example steel, or alloys with greater future expectations such as light alloys and the mainly aluminium alloys, which were quite useful at that time, and nowadays it's also very important to manufacture many kind of useful materials and useful household things, and the commercial one. In the first half of the past century, famous metallurgists such as Bain and Grossman, Johnny, and amongst others actually carried out a very important task. They actually made a very important task. These scientists, along with their renowned institutions like American Society for Metals and IRSID in France, led to the creation of the Atlas of TTT and CCT curves of commercial steels, applying techniques like dialtometry, which measures the dimension variations actually and of the tested sample according to the temperature, and metallography, and it also which frees the structure after isothermic period of different duration at various temperatures. So this was the time when the different scientists revealed different properties and also discovered the curves of commercial steels while applying the techniques like dialtometry, which measures the dimensional variation of the tested sample according to the temperature, and metallography. All this led to the thermal analysis methods not initially being applied to the metallic materials, but to other materials that were being discovered and were practically unknown in their properties and characteristics. This was due to some of the limitations of methods used, especially with respect to range of working temperatures, whose application to the metallic materials was not very useful at that particular time. Nevertheless, metallic material, upon conditioning their microstructure not only by temperature but also by the condition of processes. Condition of processes means the speed of heating and cooling, which is very important for the smooth data and for the accurate data. It is actually metallic materials, upon conditioning their microstructures not only by the temperature but also by the conditions of the process. could be treated with these analysis method. As a result, fusion temperature and latent heat of fusion and allotropic transformations with a phase change in solid state in which diffusive phenomena can intervene, equilibrium diagrams and transformations in kinetics, changes in magnetic behavior with respect to the oxidation at different temperatures, the coefficient variation of thermal expansion and the variation of specific heat, and the thermal stability could be determined using these methods. The above said methods are quite important in material sciences nowadays, and thermogravimetric analysis actually solves our many problems of characterization, and it also helps us to understand the different properties varying with the temperature and pressure. For example, some of them I would like to describe a little. For example, the solid phase change in solid state. We know that the phase transition is actually the transition from one state of matter into another state of matter. This time, if we talk about the solid state phase change, it means that one one of the solid may change its structure or different properties, but it also have another phase which is change is a solid one. It's not change into a different phase. The phase is same. It's a solid to solid phase transitions, but it is somehow in the early 70s and 60s, it is somehow it's very difficult to understand the and difficult to measure the phase change behavior and the temperature. So thermal analysis solved this issue very quite comprehensive way. If we talk about the diffraction scanning calorimetry DSC, it could help us to measure the phase transition temperature of any solid material from the temperature 150 Kelvin to up to 450 Kelvin or sometimes 500 Kelvin. This is very huge temperature range where we can scan the different samples of solids materials to find any kind of phase change, because the if one solid is changed to another phase, it definitely there is a loss or absorption of some of the heat. So this heat is actually measured by the diffraction scanning calorimetry, which is very accurate to measure at specific temperature. And the temperature from which one solid is changed into another solid is actually known as Curie temperature, which we have discussed already, and I will give a special topic of phase transitions about this. So along with the DSC, we can also determine the phase transitions in thermogravimetric analysis. Actually, thermogravimetric analysis is a kind of high temperature determination because it starts from the room temperature, which is supposed to be 25 degrees Celsius, and it may goes up to 1100 or 1200 or sometimes 1500 degrees Celsius. So it is actually high temperature scanning technique which could help us to measure the exact phase transition temperature. And this mechanism also led to find the some of the magnetic behaviors in different solids, and the behavior with respect to oxidation at higher temperatures, and the coefficient variation of thermal expansion, along with the variation of specific heat and thermal stability. So in addition, it can characterize transformation kinetics. Similarly, all those processes involve a modification in the mechanical properties which can be studied using DMA or TMA, and we are going to discuss the DMA and TMA in details in our next lectures. Examples of these kind of phenomena include the precipitation processes of intermetallic compounds in some alloys that involves amplification in the elastic modulus and phase transformations. So some specific applications of thermal analysis methods on metallic materials are pointed out here. For example, the shape memory materials. Actually, these are the metallic materials known as shape memory materials because they present the specific feature of undergoing a transformation in solid state known as martensitic. It generally occurs at low temperatures and diffuse phenomena do not intervene. So this is kind of a condition for the shape memory materials because it occurs at low temperatures. It's not a hard and fast rule for this shaped memory material, but it generally occurs when these materials are plastically deformed at a temperature below the final temperature of martensitic transformations. They can later recuperate the original shape by heating the material above the final temperature of the reversible transformation. So this is actually reversible transformation. Due to their shape memory effect, their super elastic distribution, their absorption capacity, their change of resistance, and their good mechanical properties, shape memory materials tend to be used as fire detectors, muscles in robotics, and mechanical sensor, for example, for the opening of windows for ventilations, and dental prostheses amongst other uses. So they are quite important in terms of applications in different fields of life, even in robotics, which is known to be the hot topic of the world nowadays, and it's also used as a fire detectors. In past years, different works have been appeared in which the application of diffraction scanning calorimetric method is actually used for the determination of characteristic temperatures and of enthalpy changes associated with the endothermic and exothermic processes that occur during the control heating and cooling of these type of materials. So this is a kind of very nice information which is shared in terms of shape memory materials. The transition temperature for this class uh, can be determined by employing DMA methods. For example, in this figure, the elastic modulus obtained for an equiatomic alloy of nickel and titanium according to the frequency of 9 different temperatures is actually shown here. So you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 different temperatures. And this is actually elastic modulus obtained for the equiatomic alloy of nickel and titanium according to the frequency of 9 different temperatures is actually shown. The martensitic transition temperature can be determined observing the separation between curves which actually increase around that temperature. In addition to this, it is possible to observe how the curve of the transition temperature presents a greater slope than the rest, which actually indicates the modulus dependence on the frequency is increased for the Martinstic transition temperature. A third way to study the Martinstic transformation temperatures of shape memory alloys is through the use of TMA. For example, in figure 3 we can see that this is actually the deformation that is tested on a wire of the same alloy is actually shown in this figure. The previous example, it was deformed according to time when the temperature varied and it was subjected to the constant force. The transition temperature for this class of alloys can also be determined employing DMA methods. For example, in figure 2, the elastic modulus obtained for a equiatomic alloy of nickel and amount of nickel, that is for an equiatomic alloy of nickel and titanium according to the frequency of 9 different temperatures was actually shown. So let's talk about the for example in figure 3a, here we can see this is actually in figure 3a, a sharp increase in the elastic modulus value is observed when the transformation temperature is reached. At this transformation temperature shifts towards higher values, the applied force increases from 8 megapascal to 2300 megapascal. So let's talk about the determination of the progress of metal alloys solidification. If alloy solidification is studied using DSC curves as in the example of an alloy of lead tin, and if the solidification interval is centered, the evolution of liquid phase percentage according to the temperature can be traced. For example, if we obtain the curves for different alloys of binary or ternary systems, binary may be 1 0 and ternary is 1 1, with diffraction scanning calorimetry, the liquidus and the solidus temperatures as well as those temperatures corresponding to the transformations in solid states can be determined. These curves are created from all the information obtained in the analysis of same temperatures with respect to the appropriate equilibrium diagrams. In the following example, we notice how the diagram structure of the appropriate phase corresponding to a lead tin system is carried out step by step. For example, from this diagram we can show you the different things. The DSC curves obtained during the solidification, the appropriate temperatures at the beginning of solidification, and eutectic transformations temperature for alloys with different properties of lead and tin are determined. If the points for the different alloys of lead and tin are determined, it is possible to begin the construction of phase diagram as we can see in this picture. In this figure, actually the alloy's composition with respect to the temperature is shown. We are able to see each one of the DSC curves obtained for different alloys with different liquidous and solidus lines appropriate at appropriate points. We can also see the points of fusion of two metals in pure state and the way of tracing the lines of this phase diagram. In order to establish the point of maximum solubility and the eutectic alloys composition, should it not be known the Tamam triangle, which actually this one, which actually shows the appropriate peak area for the eutectic transformation, is constructed for those alloys that are tested on the basis of alloys composition is actually described in this diagram. So now the measurements of heat capacity along with the transition temperatures, the actually magnetic change or Curie temperature, allotropic transformations, fusion temperatures, transformations with respect to phase change in solid state. Using diffraction scanning calorimetry, all these measurements as well as the energy associated with the appropriate transformations can be detected very easily and in a quite comprehensive way. In addition, by means of TMA, it can be suggested that dimensional change, either contraction or expansion, is associated with the crystalline structure changes in transformation with phase changes in solid state. So if we talk about the behavior with respect to the temperature with respect to oxidation at higher temperatures, using thermogravimetric analysis and the regulating the nature of the and the atmospheric pressure in the thermobalance interiors, the material's behavior with respect to the time periods at various temperatures can be measured accurately. So actually this is the main protocol of diffraction scanning calorimetry, which could help us to measure the exact transition temperatures, and these transition temperatures may lead to the actually the symmetry breaking from solid to solid in phase transitions, and sometimes these phase transitions may be the ferroelectric phase transitions. Ferroelectric transitions are magnetic transitions because if one of the phase of solid is centrosymmetric, the other may be the non-centrosymmetric, and if there is a non-centrosymmetric in this material, in any material, that could lead to the ferromagneticity and sometimes the good magnetic properties in that particular material. So it is very important to learn about the diffraction scanning calorimetry. Here we can see this in this diagram. This is actually the fusion temperature of pure indium metal. If we talk about the fusion temperature of the indium, it is about 156 degrees Celsius, and it is very easy to measure the exact fusion temperature of different molecules. This is actually the same procedure to find out the different transitions temperatures in different molecules. For if we synthesized any solid materials or any material, we can easily put this material in under the testing of diffraction scanning calorimetry, and we better to scan this material, any material that we have synthesized in the laboratory, from 150 Kelvin to 450 Kelvin, whether this material have any kind of phase transitions or Curie temperature in this premises. But before going to higher or elevated temperatures, we better to do thermogravimetric analysis first, because maybe this material have a low melting point. For example, maybe it have 150 degrees Celsius or below 150 degrees Celsius. It may damage if the melting actually occurs in diffraction scanning calorimetry. It may damage the diffraction scanning calorimetry, and it decrease the sensitivity of the diffraction scanning calorimetry. So this is all about this topic. I do believe that you people are now well aware of this lecture. Thank you very much.